The topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
Get ready to be amazed. Get ready to know things that nobody could know. Get ready for Recovery Wednesday with America's original radio psychic, Dr. Linda Salvin, along with Candy Finnegan from the Emmy Award-winning television show Intervention. Candy brings her more than 30 years of experience dealing with all areas of recovery. Listen as Candy and Dr. Linda bring expert guests into the conversation to bring your recovery to the next level. Together, they bring you the tools and techniques that bring balance and serenity to your life. For nearly 30 years as a syndicated talk show host and metaphysical clinician, Dr. Linda has helped thousands of people worldwide solve problems on the air and in person with her insights and solutions. So pull up a chair, turn it up, and get ready for a visit with the one and only Dr. Linda. And now, live from Los Angeles, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Linda Salvin.
Hello, here we are, another Recovery Wednesday just for you. Today we're going to be talking about the families in recovery. Last week we were talking about recovery and the individual within the family and the family's parts in it, because it's all related. If one person's got the addiction, the other people's enabling, another one might be the hero, the other one might be defending or whatever, or they may be in denial of their own situation. I'm going to bring my co-host in, the interventionist that really knows more about addiction and working with the families than I do, Candy Finnegan.
Hi.
How are you? You're all festive for Thanksgiving.
Oh, I have my fall sweater on.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. We went out to dinner last night to a restaurant that I thought was going to be fun for an event. And it's about the 10th time I've been there. But last night I really looked around and it was a younger crowd. The noise was impeccable. The service was lousy. Don't you hate it when you make an order and then they just dump the food on the table as if I got your dish, you were getting my dish, because they didn't organize which person in which seat was to get which dish.
They said it was family style, and I don't know whose family they're feeding, but not mine.
Yeah, that was not family style.
That little tiny thing. I mean, you were able to split your salad, but both of you must have gone home hungry.
Well, I had enough tortilla chips to keep me full, but I did have some fruit when I got home. Like there was still an imbalance, but I am not going to support that place for an event. No.
So I have to tell this funny story. So we were with this wonderful man. He's brilliant.
He's hysterical.
Very, extravagant and elegant, and he's just terrific. So, but all three of us are in recovery for many years. And so they bring this, of course, who knows the manager, Linda. And so we go and he comes and joins us. And the first thing he says, which just really irritates me, and it happens all the time, "Oh, it's so good to see you all back. I recognize all of you." And of course, me and my big mouth turn around and go, "Never been here before." But I know you, and points at Linda. So in all kindness, he sends over a cheese. And just as she's about to leave, she pours mezcal on it, which is liquor. Now, they don't know we're sober, and lights it on fire. And I'm talking about bonfire. And it goes, that impresses some, but not me. But what it does is it melts the cheese really fast, and it's real gooey. And I thought I heard her say that because it's got to have alcohol to burn. So she started to walk away and I went, "Excuse me, could you tell me what you just poured on that?" She said, "Yes, some mezcal." And I said, the three of us don't drink alcohol. Well, the alcohol's all burned off. Well, in some senses, yes, unless you pour it deeply into a dish and then it stays there. I said, "Well, could you bring us the cheese without it?" And she goes, "I'll be right back."
Never came back. Never saw him again either. The manager didn't come back.
Oh, no.
No.
So I thought,
Service got to be a little odd last night, besides the noise and the music.
well,
If it
you
was
know,
music.
and oh my God. And, you know, Linda and I go out to eat a lot. So we go to this wonderful Thai place because we're the only people there because everything else is to go. We can talk to each other. We hear each other.
Yeah, there's no
We go to
noise.
a sushi bar that's quiet most of the time. And so, you know, it's funny because, and they've got electric music going on that dum, dum. Because as I was telling them, I just read an article about atmospheric music. And if it's electric music, you eat 45 times faster. So I looked at Linda and I went, no.
Not for a party. No.
I mean, we could have never talked to anybody, you know, because it was intensely loud.
It was.
And it's a lovely looking restaurant, but it's and the food, you know, I don't want a bunch of drizzle stuff, so I want a good old taco.
And there's a few restaurants that we go to for good tacos that have been around 50 plus years. This was Nuevo Mexican. But anyway, that was our little experience last night. But speaking about him, our friend needs to use walking sticks to walk. And at the holiday time, he wraps them up in Christmas lights with a battery-operated remote control.
Yeah, they're like Christmas tree lights.
Yeah. And so his walking sticks, both of them all have these flashing lights, and he's just hysterical.
Well, it isn't like you're not going to get noticed.
Oh, no. You know he's there. He's there. And
He's
you're
very dapper.
Yeah, very dapper. I loved his shoes. He's old Hollywood. He comes from the Hollywood family, and he comes from that whole era. And he carried it over. I mean, that's just who he is.
He comes from an incredibly political, high-powered family.
Yeah. But he's just a lot of fun.
He's a cut above. He's a wonderful guy.
Yeah. And you're a wonderful lady, and I'm wonderful, and you guys out there are wonderful. So let's have a wonderful show talking about the families and addiction. So, you know, everybody's affected, whether you're in denial or using. So, Candy, what happens when you're with
Well, so, you know, whether anybody believes it or not, I know you do. This is a family disease. And as long as you're living with somebody who's in their addiction, the whole family is in turmoil. And they become really emotionally stunted. So I do a bunch of family groups. And one of the things I have to stress is if your loved one is in treatment, if your loved one is starting on another journey to recovery, most families have what I call the eggshell syndrome, where you're walking on them. And what I have to tell you is that the longer you put it off, the worse it gets, because this is a progressive disease.
Well, it's like they say, what you resist persists.
Loved one to be in recovery. I can't. If you're not paying attention and you don't know when they relapse, shame on you. Because it's important that you call them out. And it's funny because we were sitting in a support group meeting last night, and this girl who's very shot in the ass with herself. Pardon me.
Leave it to Candy. She shoots from the go on.
I was going to go, excuse me. And, you know, she started blabbing about if somebody, you know, relapses and they're going down the tubes and you just light your light brighter so they can look up. I wanted to get up and shake her.
No, this was not a New Age forum. No.
When somebody relapses, first of all, they don't think your support group works. Second of all, they don't think anybody likes you because you're so invested and involved in them when they're in recovery, and then they slip and use, and you go, okay, throw you away. And I wanted to go, no. That is not what this program is about. And I turned to Linda on one side of me and John on the other, and I said, don't make me kill again. I mean, she's putting out, don't get near them, don't talk to them, wait till they're ready.
And that's not the message of recovery. We want to help anybody who is least approachable, and you let them know that there's always a hand, always.
Well, yeah, and that relapse is not a part of recovery. Relapse is a part of the disease of addiction. And, Linda and I both know people who were absolutely doing everything correct. They are going to meetings, they're helping people, and some small, maybe tragedy, some small situation happens, and they go out and drink, or they take a pill that they're not supposed to. But it's like it isn't predictable, and so much so more so with alcohol, I'd say, than anything else. But if somebody you love is in recovery, well, when I got sober, my husband was out of town traveling, and when he came back, I just said, I don't think I can live with you unless you stop drinking around me. And for a man that drank 12 beers and a fifth of Jack Daniels a day, that was going to be kind of impossible. So he went into recovery 7 weeks later. But if he hadn't, I couldn't have stayed married because he was such a different alcoholic than I was. I drank and then, passed out, came to, had blackouts. That wasn't his MO. He was 6'7" and he could drink you under the table, and everybody else never had a blackout, ever had a blackout. Get that? I mean, that's sick. And
everybody's biochemistry is different. Everybody's tolerance level is different. Everybody's attitude is different. But when it comes down to the actual disease of addiction, whether you're happy, sad, glad, or blue, it's going to come out with the influence of the toxic substance, whether it's the alcohol, the drugs, or something. It'll change the personality. It's just, you had your way and he had his. I've got mine. You put the three of us together, we're all three different types of people.
Oh, absolutely. Addiction looks and feels the same, but it feels and is the same, but it doesn't look the same.
Correct.
I got sober by the grace of God in a program called Al-Anon because my mother-in-law was in it. And she put her foot down and said, I'm not going to have you drinking like you do and raising my grandkids. At the time, my kids were the only grandkids she had. And so because of that, I believed her. Let me tell you, I believed this woman at 6'1". And I thought I'd just go away for a little bit and get, sober, and then she wouldn't know. Then I could hide the rest of it. Little did I know. So because she was in recovery, it was so much easier for my husband and I to get into recovery. And it wasn't so shame-based to my children, because when she would come visit, we talked program, we talked helping people, we talked systematically, we were saying the same thing.
You're lucky you had like a leader or a guide or somebody who walked before you. Most people do not. And that's where it gets scary or intimidating. Even
but when people are in treatment, I think family members should be required. Here's the thing, Linda, and I say this, and so do you. I don't care if you don't like it. I don't care if you like it. I care that you go. And, you tell me I'm going to go to a support group for 38 years, and I'm going to tell you, you're crazy. I might start out and find everything I can wrong with it, and then I'm not ever going to go back again. But we've seen those people over and over again. And here I am, 37 and a half, you're 38 years in recovery. And you and I both are so similar because we start having alcoholic behavior, finding fault with everything and everyone.
Well, we're not perfect either, Candy. We're human. And we can judge and we can criticize.
We have to bitch to so we don't look so horrible. go on a tirade, girl. I always say, come sit next to me. Maybe you'll hate the same people. So
you got to have a personality. You know what? Before you're sober, sometimes that personality is not there. There's a time in the process of getting sober, especially the first 30, 90, maybe 6 months, first 150 days or so. You think you're never going to laugh. You're never going to have fun. Life is over if you give it all up. And then all of a sudden, because of sobriety, and the longer you stay sober, your joy comes back and your personality comes back, or you develop even better skills of having a better time than you thought once you were inebriated or loaded or something. And remember those days you think you'd never have fun again, you'd never laugh again, and never be sarcastic.
I tell you, my horror story, and it is that if I didn't want my kids to tell my husband how much I was drinking, I'd say, I'm going to take you to Disneyland. And I couldn't take them to Disneyland because they didn't serve alcohol. And the one time I did, I spent so much time on the monorail going to the California hotel because I told them that the toilets were so dirty at Disneyland. Oh my God. I'm just so I could go have a drink, And now, by the way, they serve alcohol at Disneyland.
Yes, they do.
They'd have gone a lot more. But it's like you set yourself up for failure. And I remember clearly the day my son said to me, maybe you need to have a cocktail, because that's what I called it, cocktail hour, because you're not as fun anymore. And I thought, you know what? He's right. They have to go to bed at 8:30. They don't get to stay up until 10. I'm not on the floor coloring with them. And I'm not watching cartoons all day. It's like I wasn't as much fun to them. And I believe family programs are really important. And if you don't have that in a treatment, I'm not sure I'd go. And but Al-Anon is available for everyone. And I think it's really important. Some of Al-Anon's stuff is a little chaotic.
Why don't we describe or define, rather, what Al-Anon is? Because AA is for the alcoholic who wants to get sober. NA is for people with drugs addiction. NA is a little looser, a little more whatever. OA is for food, Overeaters Anonymous. You've got GA for gamblers. You've got SA for smoking. You got LS. What is it for lovers? Sex Anonymous.
LA.
Yeah, if you're addicted to sex, or you're addicted to just always falling in love and there's no
love and sex addiction.
Love and sex addiction. But then you have Al-Anon, and Al-Anon is for the family members, or even the friends or the spouses, whoever who's associated with the addict, and it gives them the tools.
Al-Anon began in California in 1957. And what it actually is, let's see what this says. It says, this is on the alanon.org. Al-Anon members are people just like you who are worried about someone with a drinking or drug problem. Family members have the opportunity to learn the experience of others who have faced similar problems. There's also Alateen for any kid over 14. Self-assessment quizzes are designed to help you decide whether Al-Anon might be a help to you. And here are the questions, which, are screamingly funny. I'm sorry.
Just so people understand, when you say questions, there are pamphlets, people, for the 12-step programs to ask you and anybody, not that they're pointing fingers, but to give you a guideline. Can you identify with this? Do you feel this? Do you do that? So for AA, they have a set of questions, and OA, they have questions, and GA, they have questions. So here's some of the questions for Al-Anon that you personally may identify with, that may suggest
these are questions that are people ask about Al-Anon. Is it a religious fellowship? No. Do you have to make an appointment? No. Do you have to? How much does it cost? It's for fun and for free. How will it help me? What if I'm not ready to go to a meeting? Will anyone say hi or tell anybody I've been there? How do I find a meeting? Do I have to say anything at the meeting? Is it only for alcoholics? It's just for families? Can friends go? Can I bring an alcoholic with me to the meeting? I highly recommend no. Am I concerned about someone's drug use? May I approach Al-Anon? So it's a family support group, and it's organized for people who have been impacted by anyone that they care about or love that has alcoholism and drug addiction. I find that people get confused about Narcanon and Naranon. Narcanon is Scientology. It's their drug program, and it's crazy. And Naranon is, of course, Al-Anon for narcotics. And I don't know, you learn that you have your own 12 steps. You have your own sponsors, you have your own meetings, and, it can't hurt. I'll tell you that. And you can go on al-anon.org because it's a nonprofit, and try it. It won't kill you. And
they also have Alateen for the children, for the teenagers, for them to relate to people their own age in a younger group setting.
Was in it because I was so afraid that she would blame herself because I constantly told her she couldn't tell her dad. So she was my secret keeper. And I promised her the world and gave it to her, by the way. And don't tell your dad I haven't done laundry for 3 weeks. One of those things. So she was my secret keeper. And also she would run to the park and take my wine bottles so they didn't rattle when the trash man came. So whatever it is, we all have our little hero child if we are alcoholics. So I think it's a really important thing. But if you choose not to, a few tips for being a family member is you have the right in your home not to let your kid, please God hear me, smoke pot or vape pot or drink or do drugs. Most everything is a Class A narcotic, and if you got caught, you would be aiding to the delinquency of a minor, and that's a serious charge. Pot isn't just pot anymore. We're going to do a whole show on it. There's a psychosis that goes with it. And
I just had a client the other day. Her son's got a psychotic reaction from edibles, and she couldn't understand. And then she felt bad. The THC.
It's very
THC levels are still high, and now she feels guilty that she allowed her son. And I said, "Well, it's not your fault. You didn't understand the percentage, the ratio."
I know, but Linda, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, somebody called me up and they'd go, "Oh, my kid's got a problem. My husband has a problem." And they go, "He's smoking pot." And I go, "Lucky you."
As opposed to other things, of course.
It wasn't even in the DM5. You couldn't get treatment for pot smoking.
But now they're finding more and more psychosis psychotic reactions because of the THC levels that are out of control. And this is the third person now, as you've known in the last couple of months. I've had a mother come to me about their son having a psychotic break. And then at first we thought one girl was blaming it on the alcohol. And then Candy did some research with people she knows. No, it was the pot. And then she said, "Oh my God, yeah, I was smoking dope." You have to understand, people, even though pot's more or less legal today, when we were growing up, you got busted if you had a joint. You got busted for anything with pot in the old days when we were growing up in the 60s and 70s.
For 20 years.
But now the THC levels are so high. It's even a different type. I don't know what it is. It's so pure that it's too strong. It's just too much for the average person. I
smoked pot in the late 70s, but mainly 80s, beginning of the 80s. No, I smoked a lot during the 70s. I love pot just like you did. And I was proud to be a pothead. So if you had really good pot, like Sensimilla or Kush or
Wowie.
I was just going to say our Hawaiian brands, and or Thai sticks or whatever it was, you might have THC between 5 and 6%. Your everyday joint has 3. Every pot has between 38 and 42 if it's leaf, and 72 to 80% if you're dabbing oils and vaping it. That's enough to make you crazy.
Yeah.
And it is. But one thing I do want to say, so if you are in a family and you have somebody in recovery, and I'd say the first 4 or 5 years, and you're having Thanksgiving Thursday, don't start the dinner with wine. Don't start the dinner or end it with champagne. I know we have customs, and I know non-alcoholics celebrate with alcohol. I know you go to a wedding, you have champagne. You go to a cocktail party, you have cocktails. But, you really have to be retrained. And I didn't come from an alcoholic family. There was always champagne, at New Year's and Christmas dinner and all that. But I didn't go there a lot when I was newly in recovery because I stayed out here with my family. But, my husband and I used to leave Thanksgiving and go to Oregon to another family that was sober because we had gone to a place for Thanksgiving for years and years and years. And I mean, they'd get so loaded, they'd forget to put the turkey in the oven. So, but we had to change a lot of things to be able to support. If you have to go to an occasion, ask them when they're going to be serving the meal. So you don't show up 2 hours early and watch these people get, and
Loaded.
And I'm not saying don't let people drink. I'm saying don't let people drink at the occasion if you have a newly recovered person. And if it's a family situation, I always say, well, this, Linda, we used to have a big, huge Thanksgiving for newcomers who couldn't get home or didn't have a family. A lot of people lose their family during addiction and alcoholism. But the one thing I have to tell you is you can drink before and you can drink after, but don't drink and make it a part of the celebration because it's amateur hour with you. You're going to stop and be fine. They're not going to be able to stop. And it's the respect for the person that you love and new in recovery. It's hard. I mean, it's because, come on. We drank like it was New Year's every night, but they don't. And they don't understand why you can't stop. And that's why you go to Al-Anon and learn about the disease that your loved one has. It's really important. If it was diabetes or heart disease or whatever.
You still want to learn what to do. And the beauty is you get a support system, you make new friends, you got people to call or Zoom with or however you want to connect. And you find out you're not alone. You're not the only one. Someone else is feeling it. Someone else has gone through it. Someone else can guide you through it. And the beauty also is it's based on the 12-step program. So you learn the language. You learn the process that a person in recovery will go through if it's a 12-step recovery. So you too, in Al-Anon, have the same tools so that you can start relating to the person that's healing, and you're healing too. It's magic. That's the spiritual.
Like last night at the hall we were at, there was a big sign that said, "Don't be alone on Thursday. Come potluck." And I remember this hall had, Thanksgiving always had like at 4:00. What was her name? Jeannie.
Yes.
Used to put it on. And
we lost her this year. She's the one who passed away.
If you are at a 12-step meeting and you're new in recovery, I don't know if there still is since COVID, but there are 24-hour meetings. And I remember the first New Year's Eve we were sober, we went to a midnight meeting just so we wouldn't be looking at each other and thinking, because.
Is she funny, folks? Is she funny? She's funny. Go on.
but you know it. You know what that's like. So
You're white knuckling it. Yeah, you white knuckle it.
Yeah, take a bottle of Martinelli's. It's yummy and it fizzes and it's make believe. And
it's apple cider. If you don't know what Martinelli's is, it's a form of apple cider. It's non-alcoholic and it bubbles and it looks like champagne and nobody's can know the difference. And the bottles are everywhere and they come in different flavors now. I think there's a raspberry besides the apple or whatever.
No, there's a cranberry.
Cranberry, okay.
And of course my kids, grew up with it. So, and I'm going to visit my son tomorrow and guess what's in my suitcase?
Martinelli's.
I take my own because they don't think about it because neither one of them. But, oddly enough, one of the things that Linda and I bonded over in early recovery was neither one of us come from alcoholic families. We're from crazy families.
Yeah.
But neither one
have the drinking. No,
it isn't like you saw your mother drunk all the time and your dad taking pills and passing it. So we were just like Linda's parents, they supported us not doing it, but they never thought we had a problem anyway. Right before my mother died, she asked me if I was in AAA. And little did she know how many times they towed me home. It's one of those things where I couldn't, they just didn't understand it because they didn't live here. From the Midwest, and I wasn't going to waste my time having them convince me I wasn't, because I certainly knew I was. So, as a family of an addict or an alcoholic, you have a responsibility to honor their disease, and but you also have a responsibility to call them out on it. If they've gone to treatment and then they regress back into it, you can put boundaries down. You can't live here. You can't drive with the kids. Whatever it is that they can't do, you call them out on it.
See, my mom and dad would have a Mai Tai after work, or they learned about real wine and became connoisseurs and even belonged to a wine tasting group in the 80s. And they'd go all over the city at someone else's house and when they travel. But my mother would be more, I think, with the body dysmorphia, because she had to be very, very thin, was very conscious of her body, made sure I was on the diet pills. She was on the diet pills. She smoked cigarettes. I started smoking cigarettes. So it was more of that addiction. She still had her addictions. I remember when she quit smoking in 1978, and she still died of lung cancer, but not from the smoking gene because there's two different cancers. But in retrospect, my mom, I have my prom picture when I was in 11th grade. I went to the senior prom with somebody, and you can see her with her.
11?
Huh?
When you were 11, you went
11th grade.
Oh my God! I was going to say,
I was 15.
You have a talk with your dad.
No, I was 15. We didn't have the father-daughter things like you did. But I have a picture that she tore in half because she didn't want to see herself in the picture. But you can see her putting her hand on my back and my stomach to make sure I was thin. I starved myself on Benny's all week to get into this little tiny dress. I was this big. I was teeny back then. But it was drug induced. It was smoking cigarettes, smoking dope, or taking Benny's at the time, or maybe it was the ionamine or whatever I was Prelude, whatever I got into. But it wasn't the drinking. I didn't really start drinking till 12th grade. I think we had Boone's Farm, which was watered down sugar.
Well, yummy or strawberry. I never drank that shit. I went back to Jameson's whiskey. So
funny
when I didn't start drinking alcoholically until I had my daughter. I really would rather leave it than take it. I'd rather smoke pot, but and it was because I was alone in the house, and and Mike was on tour, and I was all by myself, and who was gonna know? So I'd put him to bed and start playing solitaire and drinking white wine, and pretty soon it'd be, I've got to go get another bottle. And then I started buying, instead of 2 bottles, by the case. And never did I ever think I had a problem because I didn't look like what an alcoholic looked like to me.
Right, you look good on the outside. Yep.
Well, and I wasn't in bars. I wasn't going out on my husband. I wasn't falling off of stools. And I did like lampshades, but it's like, I would drink before I went someplace, have a couple of drinks, and then drink when I got home. So I was one of those people that when I went to treatment for 5 days, they went, "Oh, you don't have a problem." And I went, "Okay, fooled you." When it's very different with pills and stuff. You don't have that behavior.
You got different behavior, or you feel worse because the chemicals going on inside. I mean, I took a lot of chemicals at one point where there was conflict and confusion and pain, but I didn't know what it was because the doctor gave it to me. But when you start mixing them up, you get kind of confused. It gets dark inside. You don't even know what's going on. I mean, I did dexamine, dexamyl, desoxin. I had Quaaludes. I had water pills. I had Valium. That's a lot of chemicals.
Well, and now when somebody tries to put you on something, you go, "I'm not taking it."
Nope.
Because you're very in tune to your body because of that.
Yes, I'm cleaned out. Once in a while, I mean, I've had 12 surgeries, and Candy knows, surgery is different. If you go in, they put you under, that's medically controlled. And then if there's so much pain during the healing process of having had surgery, of course, I take whatever they give me just to numb the pain for 5 or 6 days and I'm done. It's not like I went overboard saying, I got to have more, got to have more, got to have more, got to have more.
It's really important that you inform your physician or your surgeon that you have
an addictive
recovery and whatever it was you're addicted to.
Yep.
Because it's like then you start going in and having surgery. And they can give you something other than a morphine drip.
Well, we do happen to know some people. I knew somebody years ago that I told you about that I sponsored, and she literally found things wrong. So she go have surgery because she got drugs. And you and I know somebody recently who kind of has more of a Munchausen, I'm always sick, I need another surgery kind of issue going. But is it the surgery or is it the drug?
It's funny because, I'm very close friends with a man named Dr. James Flowers, who is a pain management, one of the top in the country. And he says when you have surgery or when in accident, whatever, you start out in physical pain. But during the process of the physical pain, it becomes psychological. And that's what keeps you drug seeking. And we're going to get into this a whole show too. There's a thing called rebound pain. When you go off of pain medication, your body creates pain so they can get this pill. And I
never heard that. Okay.
Yeah. So this rebound pain is what it's called. It's really psychological, not physical, but you think you've got to double up your medication or you can't go off on it. I went off of it for 1 day and I was in worse pain than I was, So
because your body's used to having the chemical doing its thing, and all of a sudden it's like a detox. It's like a detox, like a withdrawal. Your body's like, now what are you doing?
It's painful. So,
but back to the family.
Yeah. So I just say be cautious. If you have a loved one that's a diabetic, you're not going to hand them a chocolate cake. But
see, that's the interesting part about the disease of alcoholism. And I mentioned this, I made a little pitch last night. I spoke, and when I first got it, because I couldn't identify with alcoholics because I wasn't a daily drinker and a quantity drinker. I couldn't identify with what I thought was gutter drunk or bars every night. But I was a periodic, meaning I could go weeks on end and then go out and binge drink or get hungover or whatever. But then somebody at a meeting had said that alcoholism is anything that affects you from the neck up. And then this man who had a couple of years of sobriety was talking about alcohol, cocaine, pot, uppers, downers, cigarettes, and the list went on. And I started crying because at the age of 31 back then, I heard it. I heard what it meant rather than just a glass, just a bottle, just the bar. My drink was Kahlua. I love sugar because I'm always a sugar addict. I mean, that's me. I didn't know that it was the sweet drinks. I didn't I'd have tequila, right? But have rum, whatever, but it had to be in something like grapefruit juice or Coke or whatever. Or my big thing when I was a student at San Francisco State was Irish whiskey coffees. with the whipped cream.
Oh, not Irish. Yeah, Irish coffee, not Irish.
Yeah, Irish coffee. Sorry. Yeah, with the little whipped cream on top of the coffee. I would down those and never feel anything. Maybe 10 drinks later.
Are you referring to my Baileys?
Your babies?
Bailey.
Oh, Bailey's cream. Well, I would have Bailey's. I would have that in the house. And one night I remember back after the plane crash, I thought, oh, I better not drink this. I'm by myself. I don't want to be an alcoholic. But man, that Bailey's was calling me. And that's when you know you kind of have an issue. It's kind of like the ice cream in the freezer. It keeps calling. Or the donut store down the street keeps calling. You know, when you've got that obsessive thought, that's when you start listening inside. Well, do I have to follow the thought and take the action, or can I let this thought pass and walk through it? That's the hard part. And once you get used to it, then that's where the sobriety picks up, where you might think about it.
But Linda, we always say you can stop, but you can't stay stopped.
No. So what, like they would always say, is one's not enough, and one's too many, a million's not enough.
Ooh, I remember that one.
Remember, that was an old one. You know, one's too many and a million's not enough.
There were a lot of great old ones.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and I'm not insulting today's program because the program is still helping thousands of people worldwide. It's managed or produced or control, whatever the word is. It's just not the same community as it was 30 years ago. There's a different feeling. There's different people. Plus with the internet, and there's Zoom meetings. So you see everybody on the wall, plus you see people in the room. It's a whole different dynamic that doesn't include the spirit. To me, I don't find the spiritual.
Doesn't include the spiritual connection.
I don't feel it now like I used to. Do you?
Of course not. I told you 2 weeks ago I spoke in Ireland, and a month before that I spoke in Berlin. And all of that is wonderful to have this enormous international world support group. But I didn't hug those people. I see them on a little square. And it was like John said last night, you know how many people are up on that Zoom? And I said, no. And he goes, 80. So I look at it as out of that 80, 40 of them could have been there. Nothing like, and a really relapse from Zoom and all that's tremendous because, you can sit in your home in your pajamas and lie. But what you and I got, and that's why we're still friends, 37 years later, is because we had human connection. We had community. We'd say,
we would go to a meeting, then they would have what they call
get a meeting, and then we'll go have
coffee or dinner or whatever.
And that can't happen on Zoom.
No. And that was part of it. There was an excitement knowing after the meeting, there was a group of people going, what did we used to call it? We were going for
we went to fellowship.
Fellowship. We would go for fellowship. There was a deli here in the valley that there'd be 30 of us walking in after a meeting, and they knew us. They knew to get ready on a Monday night, a Thursday night, or whatever, that groups of people would come in. They made a ton of money because it was more than just coffee.
They made a ton of money off of us.
Yeah, the hamburgers, the fries, or whatever people were eating, or the Sundays.
Diet Cokes, yeah.
Yeah, Cokes, coffee, food. But it's not even about that. It's about people being with people. And that's what's missing in today's society. Everybody's arguing, everybody's judging, everybody's fighting, everybody's split. And we're just trying to come together.
Yeah, there were 3 things you didn't talk about. You didn't talk politics, you didn't talk religion, and you tried not to talk about, Mr. Right Now. And so, bring family into it. And there are meetings. Not very long ago, I went to a meeting in Malibu, and it was like a political rally. I was so irritated about, how do you expect me not to drink when I have to listen to, hey, shut it off. It's like we are not in the opinion or judgment business, but that's gone out the door too. It really has.
It's changed. It's sad. We talked about it last night. John agreed, because we come from a different era. We are the old timers now, because most, like, somebody got up last night and said, what do you think about, her with 38 years? How would you like to have 38 years someday? There's people in that room that may not live another 10 years, let alone 38. So I'm lucky.
Not live another year.
Maybe. 38 years, I got sober young. But when I got sober, folks, there was a lot, just so that you know. Yes, I was grateful. I was very angry. You could not come toward me with a 10-foot pole from everything I had just come through with accidents and breakdowns and stuff, and spiritual and walking from the record deal or the man of my dreams. I mean, everything crashed. But then when I started opening up spiritually and I could let go of the fear and the anger, I started to balance. But what doesn't exist now is that sense of community, like Candy and I are talking about, because that's what healed me. They said, we will love you till you love yourself. And there was something embracing that, even though I rejected at the beginning, I started to allow it to work. And that's what this is all about. When you surrender or you let it do its thing and trust the right people, you will see magic in your own world. You will see.
If you happen and you're lucky enough to buy into Al-Anon, you get to be a guiding light and a shining light at the end of this very dark tunnel and help other families, because that's as much of a responsibility for you as it is for us to always reach out to somebody who suffers. And, it's like, I remember like my first 2 weeks, and then I was doing it a minute at a time, not a day.
Mm-hmm.
And then I hit that 30 days and I thought, oh my God, I get this little plastic, poker chip. And I thought I should have like a medallion that had diamonds around it, My God, I was going to have to put it on my charm bracelet. I mean, I still have most of my original chips. And,
so do I.
And I'd go to 3 meetings, give one to my son, one to my daughter, and keep one myself. Because it was like a little badge of courage
and hope.
Well, accomplishment. I mean, no one else did it but me. I blame drinking on everything and everybody. So for God's sakes, I couldn't do that with getting sober. So, but last night, this is kind of, the audience won't understand this, but it was like, how many people? I have 351 days. Wait a minute. Can you wait another week and a half and take a year? I mean, it was like.
Yeah, that's changed. We didn't do that when we were.
Oh, God, no. It was 30, newcomer, 30, 60, 90. And then CA started with the 18 months.
Okay. But it still gave you something to work for and be as progressing forward as a goal. Now, see, the CEA How program counts days. I've got 11,024 days of abstinence. Like you heard last night, I got 354 days of sobriety. So
we never did that.
We did not. The How program does. I don't, but
I
they
understand
do.
the How program doing.
It's
I understand the How program doing it. I don't ever have to do drugs and alcohol again, but you gotta eat.
Yep. And you got to stay off the food. You got to stay off the sugar, stay off the carbs. And that's another problem. At the holidays, you've got all these desserts, some of them from the pumpkin pie, the mince pie, and the this and the that, and the rolls and the stuffing, and not just the wine and the alcohol and the beers and the champagne, but there's a lot of food. And that's when people give themselves the permission to gorge and binge and eat this. Well, it's just a holiday. Then you feel, oh my God, I ate too much. I got to go take a walk. And
take turkey, and then everybody passes out from the
L-tryptophan, which is like a sedative, because we all get tired, and then you have leftover for turkey sandwiches the next day. We go through this every year. Yeah, the sandwiches are good. The sandwiches are good. But the problem is, try for your moderation. If you do have to drink, if you do have to overeat, cut back. You'll survive without that extra piece of pumpkin pie. You don't have to have the whipped cream. It's just
coming out in the middle of the night and eat it.
I'm sorry?
Get up in the middle of the night and eat it.
Yeah, you can do that too. But at the table, you don't have to eat everything. It's just, I'm Jewish. And before my mother died, especially when we had Seders or we'd have Thanksgiving, my parents put together gorgeous tables of food. And my dad has a special turkey recipe that he would baste the turkey on a spit, and nobody makes it like that. I got to get a copy of it. But the table was always beautiful. But I learned through my program, as I was sober and abstinent, my mom would serve these feasts. And I'd say, no, I don't want any. Or no, I won't eat the matzo ball anymore. I don't want the stuffing. Nobody came down on me and said, well, no, just try it. When you own yourself and you're standing up for yourself, you don't have to be the people pleaser. Say, all right, I will just one because. You don't have to, people. You learn to become stronger, and then the group helps you strengthen. We're down to about a minute left in the show, so we want to wish you all a happy, safe, and healthy holiday weekend.
Well, as the one thing about Thanksgiving I do love is it's non-denominational, and it's a day of gratitude and Thanksgiving. And Linda and I are both grateful to do this show and help you in any way we can. And we're thankful that we have each other and that we have friends that love and care for us. And so reach out and touch someone that doesn't have what you have. And let them know you care about them, because
all people need. A lot of people are scared and lonely and alone and don't want to admit it.
It can be a very lonely day.
And you have a safe trip driving north, and I'll be down seeing my granddaughter, my goddaughter. No, I don't have a granddaughter. Sorry, that was a Freudian slip. My goddaughter, girl who used to work for me, is now got a 6 or 7 year old, and I'm the godmother. So I'll go spend that. I was going to say Halloween. It is like Halloween. It's Thanksgiving with the family. You guys all be safe. We'll be back next week with more recovery for you, the family, and who knows what we're going to talk about. Probably more about the holidays, because it's difficult.
We're going to talk about trying to support and stay sober during the holidays.
It's all about showing up and surrendering a moment at a time.
Yes. So we're thankful you're with us, and that tune in next week.
And I'm thankful for you, Candy, and I'm thankful for all of you out there listening. And when you download, or if you want to contact us, you'll see our contact information at the end. Have a good weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed Recovery Wednesday. You can reach Dr. Linda at 888-509-1077 or at lindasalvin.com. And Candy Finnegan at candyfinnegan@aol.com. Need a breakthrough of your own? Ready for answers or insights nobody else has? Reserve your own one-on-one in-person chat. Dr. Linda isn't just for other people. Dr. Linda gets results for you. And it's easy. Contact details are on screen now. Just click on lindasalvin.com or call toll-free 888-509-1077. That's lindasalvin.com or toll-free at 888-509-1077.